Looks like it's going good. All right. Looks like we are live. Welcome, Peyton. Thank you so much for first and foremost taking the time to jump on a live stream, of course, in the Facebook group Balance. Just want to talk a little bit about Peyton. What she does, she's a center manager for Mathnasium. She is a huge connoisseur for all coasters in Florida. She's big on Universal, Disney, so you can catch her at theme parks all the time. My name is Adam. Of course, I run the Balance group and, of course, own Balance Fitness and Performance. But yeah, Peyton, thank you so much for taking your time out of your evening on a busy Monday to come and chat.
Of course. Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I lurk in on my drive home a lot, listening to the stream. So it's kind of fun to be in one this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you so much. I think that, today's live stream, I really just want to highlight, how much you've been able to accomplish within this past year with, I think, just limited equipment, just, not that sort of all or nothing mindset. I think that's something we're really going to kind of just talk about today is just, not so much the need of perfection, right? I mean, we definitely had our fluctuations, right? We definitely had our times where we, needed to chat with each other a few times. And so, ultimately, I just really want to highlight how imperfect that action was that's led you to see results up until now. And so first and foremost, I kind of want you to talk about, what you do, just how your day is sort of structured. I think a lot of people in the group will kind of, would like to hear just how your day is structured and how you were able to really start incorporating imperfect action when it came to starting a fitness routine, starting an exercise routine. And I just would like for you to just highlight your day to day.
Yeah. So day to day, especially going into the journey, I work really weird hours. Mathnasium is an after school service. So our open hours are after school. So most families, the parents get off at like 5 o'clock. We have to be open until 7. And in the past, we've even been open until 8. We have to do closing. So I don't go into work until about 10:30, but I also don't leave work until 8, sometimes 8:30, depending on the night. So I was having really hard time being like, I have all this time in the morning. I know it exists because I've worked out before. I've done this kind of stuff and gone through the whole journey, but it was always summertime because I used to be a teacher. So the summer, I didn't have any like responsibilities other than taking care of myself. And then as soon as the school year would start, I'd fall off. So now with taking that time frame and recognizing that that's my time to be at work, and I have all this time. I wake up at 6 with my boyfriend when he gets ready to go to his normal hour job. So really taking the time exists. It is there. It's not like I'm still sleeping in or anything like that. I come home from work, I pretty much go straight to bed and I wake up early. So taking advantage of those hours beforehand, but also recognizing that my job, because it's with the school system, sometimes the teachers want to meet with you at 8 a.m. So I have to take it day by day. So I have a routine that I stick to as long as everything's quote normal at work. And then when it's not, I have kind of what I've been viewing myself as like flex days. I don't work on Fridays. So I can oftentimes do my workout on Friday and I still have my space and time. And now I'm not rushed for anything. But then if I end up having a really busy week, I still have Saturday. Like I go to work on Saturday. So I follow a normal morning routine on Saturdays too. So it's more of just waking up, getting out of bed. And then from there, I can actually do it. If I sit in bed, I don't. But that's part of that imperfectness of the journey is not hanging myself up on the day before where I did lie in bed. This is a new day. What are we going to tackle?
Yeah, absolutely. And is there any particular sort of routine or sort of mindset that you kind of create for yourself? I know that so many people struggle with waking up early, myself included. And it took me a long time to finally incorporate morning workouts into my routine. But for someone who's just like, bombarded with crazy schedules, right? They're working weird hours. Maybe they stay a little bit later, working till 8:30 p.m. at night. Is there anything that you do, any sort of routine that you have developed yourself, or maybe that the program has helped develop for you to basically kind of shift your mindset into kind of getting yourself early in the morning?
Um, for me, it wasn't necessarily the getting up early, it was the doing something
Hmm.
with that being awake early.
Gotcha.
So we talked a lot about trying pre-workout because sometimes I was just asleep in bed. So
Right.
even if I'm still kind of waking up and lying down in bed, if I'm sipping on the pre-workout, after about like 20 minutes, it's like, oh, now you're awake.
Again.
So there's no way I can lay down in bed anymore. But other times too, it's just my dog wants to get up and wants to go
Okay.
out. And so having her, you know, whining and barking and wanting to go
Mhm.
outside is that kind of final draw to kind of go, okay, I'm out of bed. Well, now I have shoes on. Now I'm outside in the sunlight. Now I'm awake. It's also turning on the lights. Keeping the lights
Okay.
off is, you know, as soon as I get a light on, I'm awake.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great tip. Just,
Yeah.
flicking the either the lamp or just the lights on, you have to get up and turn on the lights like right away. Yeah, that's a
Yep.
great tip. Awesome.
Another big part of it too is taking a look at what time I actually have. So I'll a lot of times set my Google Maps to see what accidents are there, what's traffic like, and I'll
Mm,
see, okay, this is
important.
the time that I have to leave at. So this is the time I have to be in the shower by, which means this is the time I need to start my workout. And oftentimes I go, great, I can kind of wake up mentally, lounge, and then have my alarm set to go, okay, when Dylan's walking out the door, that's when my alarm's going off to actually start my workout.
Yeah.
So, and having the
Yeah, just
plan in
that sort of
place.
pre-planning. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And you're thinking like 4 or 5 steps, ahead just to ensure that you're going to wake up at that right time, get the workout in, and then of course, have the rest of the day to take care of what you need to
Oh,
take care
yeah.
of,
And
which
my
is super
ADHD
important.
brain overestimates how long everything's going to take. So I still end up having more time
More
to just kind of
efficient.
hang out and chill before I go to work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So before you really joined the program, I want you to kind of talk about what were some of the struggles that you were facing. What were some of the things that you really wanted to, because I know that even since last year, this was something that had been on your mind, right? And we chatted a little bit, this was something that you were really thinking about focusing on. And then after, focusing on really just creating a sort of program, for you, we really just took the leap and you jumped in. So what were you struggling with before? What ultimately made you decide, hey, you know what, this is the time I'm going to jump into this thing and get help?
So the biggest thing for me was with me going to the theme parks all the time. I started noticing certain rides were getting tighter. I was not as
Mhm.
comfy on them. We in the coaster community, people talk about being stapled on rides, which just means you are like fully packed in. There's no way you're going to get any air time throughout the ride. And every single time I would ride rides, I felt stapled, like I was just completely closed in. And so I wasn't getting the full enjoyment out of them. So that was kind of something that I had kind of been noticing gradually over the past, I want to say it was about the past year before I started. And I kept telling myself, oh, no, it's fine. Like you're walking so much at the theme parks. There's no way that you're, gaining weight. This is insane. Absolutely not. And I was just kind of in denial about it. And then every time that we would want to go to the beach, I would realize I needed a new bathing suit because the last one was uncomfy last time. Or I don't have anything in my size clean right now. I need to just go buy another pair of pants. And I was constantly having to buy more clothes for anything, whether we were going out with friends or I needed new work clothes or the beach, anything. I was constantly just being like, nothing fits. I can't find anything that I like to wear that's currently in my closet. So it was just a constant denial of this isn't really happening, but also it absolutely is because I need to buy new products and things to maintain where I'm at. And then I would just notice my energy levels would be down. A ride would be closed, it would reopen, and Dylan would run off. And when my head, I'm going, this is so fast. But I grew up in Chicago walking around so fast. Like I'm a
Mhm.
city walker and I couldn't keep up. And it's not that I have short legs or anything. It was just that I was getting heavier.
Mhm.
And from way back when I had knee surgeries, back when we were in college together, and the weight gain puts extra pressure on my knees, which then makes my knees feel weaker, which
Mhm.
then makes me not want to move as much, which then makes the weight gain happen. So it just kept being this kind of back and forth self-fulfilling prophecy over the past year or so. And it hit a point where I got denied on a ride,
Mhm.
and that wasn't fun.
Hmm.
And I was just like, I don't want to do that again.
Right.
And you had posted about like a new program coming out again, and
Hmm.
is regularly, because we've been chatting, I've been keeping in tune of like, when are the new programs happening? When is something going to work out in my favor where this is going to happen? And
Hmm.
that program ended up being the right fit, and it worked this time. And um, there was no better time than like right then and there. I kept
Hmm.
waiting. And at that point, it kind of was like, what am I waiting for? Because once we were able to talk, we were able to work stuff out, figure out all of the nitty gritty stuff about the program, and I could just get started because that's what was necessary.
Hmm.
And it's not to say I wasn't denied a couple other coasters at the beginning of everything, but it was also one of those coasters where it's hit or miss. I wrote it, I went back to rewrite it, couldn't ride it the next time. So I still
Gotcha.
dealt with some of those issues, but I also noticed things getting better. I went and
Hmm.
rode Velocicoaster 2 weeks ago. Completely different experience. I had way more airtime. I wasn't stapled at all. In fact, like they kind of like I was surprised that there was space again and everything. It just kind of felt like it was back to normal in a way to the very first couple times I rode the ride, where there was no, oh, is this going to fit? We got to put a little extra pressure on her seat. And it was fantastic. So, I go from feeling like I'm squeezed to having the full ride experience.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. And it's, sometimes like it's not always the greatest, but it sometimes takes us, hey, like this wake up call to kind of ultimately, take that action. Right. So, whenever you ultimately started the program, like when you jumped in, what sort of doubts did you have in your mind? Like what sort of things were running through your mind jumping into this program? And then what sort of things did the program really teach you to, either learn to love and, really excel with?
The my doubt has always been the what happens when I have a bad day kind of thing, because I know I'm going to have bad days. As someone with anxiety, that's going to happen. Even with my ADHD, I forget to have my clothes clean. And well, now how do I work out? I don't have anything to wear to do this. And being creative and thinking about backups. But the biggest thing when sorry, I got lost in my thought
No, that's
there.
okay. No, you're
the
totally fine.
Yeah, it's just the biggest takeaway was being able to regroup, because again,
Right.
like I said, I've done the programs before where I've had
Hmm.
a trainer, and it's not to say that those trainers were bad or anything like that. It's just that after a certain point, I stopped getting invested in how do I regroup back when the
Hmm.
investment wears off or
Right.
my mindset is just no longer focused. And both in those times, I lost my focus and there wasn't a clear path to get back to it.
Hmm.
And you, Crystal, and Alyssa have all been very involved in, what can we do to make it better? And so, there have been a past couple of weeks where things weren't perfect. They weren't great. And Alyssa asked, what do you need? And I just said, if I haven't worked out by 7:30, send me that message, because that's my cutoff time. I have to be done
Right.
working out by 8:30 every morning.
Hmm.
And she did that. And that's what it took, and knowing that I had your support and it wasn't just solely you, it was a team of people to help and call on. That's kind of like reassured those doubts that I had.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as obviously you've been here the whole past year, we've wanted to expand the team and we're still looking to expand too. And it's one of those things that like, you know, I want to make sure that you get the accountability, you get the morning texts when you need them, right? And just having a team just behind you, focus on helping you as much as you can. If that's something you need, you got it, right? And, I'm just happy that I was able to have her in place, someone that's done the program as well. And, having her just, be on you a little bit, right? Just kind of making sure you're staying accountable with things like,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe it's just that small little tweak that someone needs. And in your case, there it is. Right.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
I just want to highlight just again, just it was sort of that imperfect action, even when we take a look at the fluctuation, right, with the scale. I mean, granted, the scale is not everything, but it gives us a good indicator of how progress really looks over time, right? And it's not a straight line, you're not actively losing a pound every single week, but when you add it all up, hey, you actually are losing, 1 to 2 pounds per week when you add up and actually
Mhm.
do the averages on it, right? but that's not necessarily how it looks all the time. And it's just something to highlight for sure. For sure.
That's been one of my favorite things about looking at my charts, because
Mhm.
there's no way I'm going to be perfect. The hardest part for me is while I can say there's a hard part in everything, the hardest part is the nutrition, just because I am at the theme parks all the time and it's not
Right.
easy. But the nice thing about, Disney, you can order off the kids meal and those are like health check marks. So I know I'm getting something relatively good balanced. And then I have a
Mhm.
protein shake on my drive over. So I stay in tune with everything, but always focusing and prioritizing getting that protein intake. But that fluctuation, I'm just like, that's natural. That's going to happen. I'm not
Mhm.
going to have a 100% perfect day every single day. I might eat
Absolutely.
wonderfully, but miss my workout. But I
Mhm.
might or I might have all my workouts, but get super rushed at work. And the only option that Publix has that day for me is the fried chicken poppers,
Yeah.
and so it varies by day. But at the end of the day, like you said, at the end of the week, I'm losing. You look at the whole chart over the whole time that I've been working with you, and you just see it on this downward trend. And that's
Mhm.
what matters. As a mathematician, it's the trend, not the day to
Yeah.
day, not the
That's
data
right.
points I care about.
Yeah, I think we get so caught up in just like the week to week, you know, fluctuations, the progress or lack thereof. And we don't really take a look at, okay, look at the past year or even the past quarter, right? Like the past few months, right? And, I think with you that's something that I really like to highlight, and why I wanted you to kind of jump on this live stream is because, when you look at the week to week, it doesn't look like much change is happening. And that could help. I mean, that would, lead to someone being a little bit more unmotivated, not want to show up, not be as consistent. But no matter what the scale was showing, no matter if you hit a workout and you're hitting the meals, or maybe you're hitting the meals but not the workout, you still manage to show up in some form or fashion every single day, right? And it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect. Yet, the downward trend is there. The progress is there, and it's very evident that it's there. And it's just a matter of just continuing on, like taking each day at a time, which is something that I think you do so perfectly. It's so imperfectly perfect, it highlights just raw human, just tendencies, and again, I think that's just something I really wanted to highlight with you and just kind of bring you on and talk about. This wasn't 30 pounds in 2 months. This wasn't 30 pounds in even 4 months, right? It was what, probably around 8 or 9 months that,
I think
this took,
so. Yeah.
yeah, just around, and just under a year. And so it wasn't a whole, bunch of weight loss in like, just 8 weeks, but just slow, consistent progress over time. And I think that's something that I just wanted to highlight with you, and just, with the course of the program.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what do you feel is like, in terms of the program, in terms of what you've been focusing on, what was sort of that biggest like needle mover to kind of get over specific hurdles or, challenges throughout the program, or even beforehand, like things that that would kind of pop up for you? Like, what was that ultimate needle mover for you?
I think it was the mindset of just doing something, but not having a long checklist of everything that I need to do for the day. When I log
Mhm.
into the app, there's my workout, there's the calories. Everything else is kind of assumed and is a goal, but I don't have to check the box for my water or my steps or anything like that. And as long as I'm keeping up with the walk that's included in my workout, then I should be hitting close to my walking goal, especially with the walking back and forth that I do around the
Yeah.
center that I do. But the biggest thing there was just having that kind of very obvious, this is the one main task each day that you must do in some fashion. And so on the days that I might not be able to get the whole workout in, I sleep in, I oversleep, or I have to go into
Right.
work early, at least take Ethel for the walk, get outside. But
Love it.
it really was that main thing, just having the one main task. Here's your workout, here's your food, take care of those. And with the food, I tracked really religiously at the beginning because I
Mhm.
needed to know where was I at and what can we do next. But once I really started seeing a pattern where it was like, I like this food and I know this works, and I like this food and I know this works, and I would even experiment with restaurants near my work and be like, I ate that yesterday, how did my week go afterward? I
Yeah.
still lost weight, this is great. So then I would incorporate those restaurants into my weekly like
Perfect.
plan, because I'm not meal prepping. I eat out like 90% of the time. I would like to cook
Mhm.
home more, but for me, also having the weight go down and still eating out the way that I do, like I eat Chick-fil-A regularly and I still see my scale go down. It's
That's
insane.
it. That's it. Love
Yeah.
it. Love it. Yeah. You don't need to cook every single meal at home. And, you know, being as a coach, I don't expect you to, and you shouldn't be expected to. We have very limited time throughout our day, and prepping food, getting groceries, cooking it, sealing it up, making our meals for the next day. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. And, not to mention that's just assuming that have the skill of being able to cook, right? Or that you enjoy cooking, right? And it's just goes to show you don't need to absolutely 100% cook all of your meals to see progress.
Mm,
It's about finding what works for you, and you found what works for you. Granted, it took a little bit of time, right? A little
yeah.
trial and error. It takes time to learn about yourself and learn about your habits and what fits best. So even just kind of taking the time to try and experiment a little bit, right? Let's see what happens when I eat this at the end of the week. Let's see how I'm feeling. Let's see how the weight's being affected. Let's see how I'm performing my workouts and exercises. And you go from there and you decide whether or not, hey, is this working? Is it not working? And that's exactly what you did. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. That's
And my
perfect.
body will tell me when I've had something that's like, this was
Oh yeah.
not it. And
Oh
I'll be
yeah.
like, that I'm not feeling good after that. And then I'll think about it and be like, yeah, that probably wasn't the smartest choice, but it was the best choice that I had at that time.
Right.
And that's what I got for it. So then I planned more ahead. It's like, if I'm going to be on a long drive, maybe I need more of those beef jerky snacks in the car rather than thinking about where can we stop on the drive.
Yeah. And I think that leads me to my next point is like, even when you're trying something like that and you notice, okay, I don't like this, this is probably not the best for me. Or whenever you kind of run into like a hurdle or a challenge, like what kind of keeps you going? What's going to keep you going from this point forward as well? You've made this progress up to this point. So what keeps you going from here? And then whenever you do run into challenges or hurdles, what keeps you going from there? How do you kind of shift your mindset? What kind of focuses do you have?
So, I mean, now that I'm riding coasters again, I'm not getting kicked off. It's part of it is I want to get back into some of my favorite clothes that I have that never went out of style, but they just don't fit. And so they're still sitting there and they're not, it's not that they didn't fit, it's that they didn't fit comfortably.
Right.
And I keep throwing on some of these clothes because they're all I have, but I'm feeling them get comfier and comfier. So it's kind of having that goal of just feeling better, not
Mhm.
necessarily like physically being like, oh yeah, I look so good. It's more that I physically feel better in my clothing
Yeah.
and things are feeling actually like they were meant for me again. And, I could go buy more clothes, sure. But at the same time, that's not what I wanted. I wanted the clothes that I already had. I also wanted all the other reasons that I had. So now that some of those are getting checked off and I've got those, now I want to be able to wear what I own again, have more variety in what I go out in, because right now it's copy paste every single day practically. And then just being able to move again. The fact that I'm able to take Ethel on longer and longer walks has been so
Mhm.
great. I miss being able to kind of like jog from ride to ride. I want to be able to do that again. So I'm still have some of those movement goals. And then, long term down the line, having kids one day, I want to be able to keep up with them.
Love it.
Now I've got the time for that one, but the other ones are a little closer. Ethel's 8, so I don't
Yeah.
have too much longer of having Ethel, and I want to give her the best life that she can. It's the dog that she is. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I think one last thing I really want to highlight and just kind of talk about is, you know, you were just doing at home exercises, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want you to touch on your prior experience with weightlifting, with exercising, and what we ultimately taught you with the program to basically help you excel with weightlifting and exercising at home. I kind of want you to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah. So weightlifting goes all the way back to high school. Um, when you're an athlete, they took you out of gym class. And so it was my first year. I quit softball, so I had to have a gym class, but I didn't want gym. So my friend and I decided to take weightlifting. And so we were the only girls in the class, but we had a great time because he kind of would be like, here's your worksheets, here's the weightlifting and the schedule that I gave you guys. And they would, all the guys and everyone would just kind of leave us alone, but we would lift weights and it was great. And I loved that. So that's why as I got older and I started, trying to work out, because as soon as I would quit my sports, I would go to college and have no more regular working out. So I would try to work out and I would try and lift weights, but I'd be so lost because in high school I was just given, here you go.
Right.
Then I got a trainer, things were good. Then my knees broke. And then I was in physical
Mhm.
therapy. So that was great because it was, doctor ordered working out in a way, but
Right.
very targeted. Then when I got released from physical therapy, stopped working out again. So then it just kind of kept being this ebb and flow.
Mhm.
When I moved to Colorado, I joined like a studio gym, which was super cool, but also like the scheduling was not good for going to school, going there before work when I was teaching. But there was always that strength portion during the hour, and it was my favorite part of it. I just really like the idea of just being able to feel like I can lift a heavy box. I remember when I would work at
For
like Jamba
sure.
Juice and I was young and I could carry it all
Mhm.
with an ease. And I always be like, oh yeah, no, I can carry that. No problem. And I always felt like I was such a cool person being able to carry that. And I saw that skill dwindle. So I always wanted to be someone who lifted weights rather than running on the treadmill, running on the elliptical, doing all these like heavy cardio workouts were just not for me. I didn't like getting my heart rate up. I played softball for a reason. The longest I would run, like I would never hit a triple because I couldn't run to third base, but I
Right.
could hit a double because that was just close enough.
Mhm.
Um, so weightlifting was always the thing that worked for me because it was just I didn't feel like I was exerting a lot until I was actually holding the dumbbells.
Right.
Um, but with the move to Florida, and then we weren't sure housing wise where we were going to be, I just kind of invested in having some at home stuff with my prior trainer because I had gym anxiety. No one was actually going with me. I didn't know how long we were going to be at that gym. So once I even got used to that gym, I could be uprooted and moved to another city and then have to get used to a whole other gym, go through that whole cycle again. And that's how my anxiety brain works. And so I was just like, I only want at home stuff. It's all I can do.
Mhm.
Maybe one day I could go to a gym and feel
Yeah.
confident in it, but I still just really prefer having the peace of mind. I can watch whatever I want on whatever volume I want while I'm working out. My dog's right there and I'm in the comfort of my home with no one's eyes on me at
Yeah.
all.
For
And
sure.
that was one of the biggest things for me is I just wanted my kind of personal space while I was going through this journey.
Mhm.
And it's what's been working for me. It's what has kind of always been the kind of final ticket for me is at home things.
100%. I love it. I love it. And even with the equipment that you have, like talk about, what you do have and like, you know, I think just highlighting the fact that you don't need a whole lot to ultimately get started or even continue to see progress. You don't need a whole bunch of machines. You don't need a whole bunch of different free weighted stuff. Like kind of talk about what you have and what we basically utilize in terms of what we created for you in terms of workouts.
Yeah. I've got 3 sets of dumbbells right now, 6, 8, and 12. I think I might need to get a fourth set soon, which is awesome.
That's awesome.
I've got a
That's a
yoga
win.
mat so that if I'm doing any sort of ground exercises, but also helps it when I need to stretch at the end or anything. I've got 2 kinds of resistance bands. I got kind of your classic, really thin, rubbery ones. And then I have like the really thick kind. And so, I can tell based on, the photos and the videos, which one I'm supposed to use. But I've got both styles depending on what things we're going to target with. I did have a place that I could hang a resistance band from, but the hook is getting loose, but modifying workouts once, equipment kind of goes out. And then I've got a chair to sit on and it's really about it. I
Seven
don't have much
items.
past.
7 items. That's
Yeah.
it. I love it. I mean, it's just like I said, I think it's like you don't need your perfect environment. You don't need a crazy expensive gym to hop into. You don't need all these machines. You don't need access to treadmills, all this other stuff. Like you may do with what you got. And you're seeing amazing progress from it, right? Even much so like, hey, you're even about to jump into maybe even a heavier dumbbell now, right? It's like you don't need all of this perfect stuff to, ultimately jump into a routine. I think just highlighting like, you know, first and foremost, like, thinking about how when you started, you know, it's something you wanted to keep pushing back, pushing back, pushing back, right? But you got started, right? And come to equipment and everything that you have, maybe you don't have a whole bunch of stuff to work with, but you know what? I'm going to work with what I got, right? And so just all that sort of like you don't need your perfect space, your perfect environment, that perfect time. Like it's just a matter of just doing something, right? And you may do with what you got and you see great results from it. And again, just something I wanted to highlight with you and your situation. I know a lot of people, are probably in the same spot as you where they have like a few dumbbells and they're wondering whether or not it will work. Is this even enough to do something with? I bought this because I like to, work out on the go. I want to be in the comfort of my own home, but am I wasting my time? Right. And I think it's important to highlight that you're not, you can develop so many different, routines, exercises and workouts and still focus on the basics, focus on the foundational pieces and still see amazing results.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not a waste of time at all. But getting that guidance and assistance on what to do and the frequent change up of what we're doing too. But because I've had those dumbbells this whole time, it's not like I didn't it's not like I threw them away during the time frame that I worked with the last trainer to working with you. They were sitting in my workout box.
Yeah.
Just sitting there waiting to be touched. And so then when I broke them out, I even had to go, I only had the 2 sets, the 8 and the 12 when I started. And because it had been so long, I had to go get the 6s. And now those are great for my warm-up sets. Like I still use them. It's not like I bought them for a little bit. I left the tags on thinking maybe I don't need these. But they work great for some of those, warm-up ones. And then I go to the 8 and the 12s and soon maybe some 15s.
Yeah, I think it's almost that time for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, Peyton, thank you so much. Looks like we're pretty much at our time. I told you it goes by, pretty quickly.
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again, guys. This is something that we love doing for you guys. And of course, Peyton here is showing some amazing resilience. And I think just with her consistency, just the mindset shift, everything that she's been able to focus on, again, this is only the beginning for you, but I just want to highlight, she was not in her perfect spot. She didn't have a perfect time. She didn't have all the perfect equipment. She took imperfect action, and even though this is something that's been ebbing and flowing, over the course of a long period of time, not just a couple of weeks or days, but, month after month after month, coming up to a year, you really get to see and look at all the progress that you've made, knowing that you've shown up and done something. And, again, that's something I really like to highlight, something I highlight with my program as well. This is something that we love doing and helping every single person out with, understanding that it's not all or nothing. You don't need perfection to win. Ultimately, it's the journey that, ultimately leads to you winning, right? That process and just enjoying that process. And so guys, again, feel free to ask us for help within the group, ask us for help, I'm sure Peyton is more than happy to answer any sort of questions here. So if you have any, please post them below. We'd love to hear your questions. But yeah, guys, this is something that we help out with. So if you want to get help, if you guys have any other sort of questions that you'd love to have answered, or if you need any sort of guidance from us, type a comment down below. We'd love to answer them. And again, Peyton, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule on a Monday to come and chat with us.
Yeah, no, thank you again for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. All right. We'll chat soon. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks.
All right, Peyton. We'll chat later. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.